Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Luna Celestine, and if you're watching this, it's not by accident. You were meant to hear this message. The new moon on June 25th is unlike any we've felt in a long time. Not soft, not symbolic, but exact. Almost surgical in its silence. This is not a moon that asks you to wish or manifest or even speak. It's a moon that pulls you inward, away from crowds, away from noise, away from the performance of being seen. Right now, the universe is tuning your frequency so precisely that even the presence of others can distort the signal. So if you've been feeling the urge to disappear, to go quiet, to withdraw without explanation, trust it. You're not being distant. You're being summoned. This moon doesn't want you to show up polished. It wants the raw, unedited you. The one who exists before the words, before the role, before the story. And that's where we begin. If you've been feeling strangely invisible, as if your presence is fading from conversations or slipping between the cracks of other people's attention, let it happen. This isn't rejection. This isn't loneliness. This is sacred protection. The new moon's energy is weaving a veil around you, not to isolate you in pain, but to insulate what is still forming. You are not meant to be seen clearly right now because something within you is being rewired at a subtle, almost imperceptible level. And just like a seed breaks open in darkness, so too are your ideas, your emotions, your quiet awakenings asking for solitude, not spotlight. You might feel the urge to share, to tell someone about this strange feeling of inner shift, to put it into words, to post it, to call a friend and process it out loud. But this moon warns, speak too soon and it will scatter. What's arriving in you is not a conclusion, it's a beginning. These aren't insights ready for explanation, they're frequencies that lose coherence when exposed too early. Imagine cutting open a fruit before it ripens. The texture's wrong. The sweetness unformed. That's what happens when you try to express what is still anchoring itself inside your spirit. So hold it close. Let your silence be a cradle. Trust that just because you can't describe what's happening doesn't mean it isn't real. In fact, the most important parts of your transformation right now are the ones that refuse to be named. Not because they're hiding, but because they are still becoming. And if you can protect them with quiet, they'll bloom into something strong enough to speak for themselves when the time is right. And here's where the danger becomes subtle, because in the presence of others, especially when your energy is fragile, something automatic begins to take over. You smile without knowing why. You answer questions with ease. You nod at the right moments, speak with confidence, hold your posture just so. On the surface, it works. You seem fine, maybe even charming, but underneath, something feels off. It's like watching a performance you don't remember signing up for. That's the substitute self, a well-trained, socially fluent version of you that steps in when your true self is too tender, too raw, too energetically exposed to show up. And the truth is, it's not bad. It was built to protect you. It helps you function. It allows you to move through the world without falling apart. But here's the price. It doesn't feel. It doesn't connect. It mimics your voice, your expressions, your mannerisms, but it carries no weight, no depth, no joy. And when you return home after wearing that mask all day, what's left isn't relief, it's hollowness, a quiet ache. A strange sense that something important went missing and you don't even know what it was. You may even catch yourself mid-conversation thinking, who is this person speaking right now? That's the moment when the real you knocks from behind the glass, asking to be let back in. But by then, the echo of the performance has already settled. You've given the world a version of you it could digest easily, and in return, you've starved the part of you that needs truth to breathe. This new moon sees through all of that. It doesn't want the clone. It doesn't care if you're likable, put together, or socially graceful. It wants your pulse, your pauses, your unpolished soul. Even if that means saying nothing, even if that means not showing up, at all. Because every time the substitute self takes the stage, the real you fades a little further into the wings. And if you're not careful, you begin to forget the sound of your own voice when it's not filtered through someone else's expectations. So let this moon be your invitation to return, to let the act dissolve, to stop rehearsing, to give your soul space to breathe without an audience. You don't need to perform, you just need to be. What most people don't realize is that during certain cosmic thresholds, like this June 25th new moon, the energetic field between souls becomes porous, almost fluid. The invisible boundaries that usually separate your thoughts, your emotions, your spiritual frequency from someone else's begin to blur. And in that blurring, something strange starts to happen. You begin to carry what is an emotion that rises out of nowhere, a thought that feels foreign but somehow sticks, a heaviness in your chest after leaving a conversation that seemed harmless on the surface. That's not intuition. That's energetic residue. This moon thins the veil, not just between dimensions, but between people. And while that sounds poetic, it's actually risky, not because others mean harm, but because they're leaking. Everyone is. Even those who don't believe in energy, even the grounded, even the calm, they're radiating vibrations that drift into rooms and settle onto others. You might enter a space feeling whole and leave it feeling scrambled, unsure why your mood has shifted, why your clarity has dimmed, why suddenly you're doubting something that just yesterday felt true. That's the subtle invasion of emotional static, and it's everywhere right now. That's why solitude under this moon is not avoidance, it's preservation. When you're too close to others, especially in emotionally charged spaces, their unprocessed energy can coat you like dust, and once it settles, it becomes hard to tell what belongs to you and what was simply absorbed. Their fears become your anxiety, their confusion becomes your indecision, their expectations start whispering louder than your own truth. This isn't empathy, this is entanglement. And the most dangerous part? It's invisible. You won't always know it's happening. You'll just feel off, disoriented. Like you've been emotionally bumped, but can't pinpoint by what. That's why this moon asks you to go quiet, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, energetically. This is not the time for long talks, heart-to-hearts, or deep processing with others. Even the most well-meaning conversations can become conduits for contamination. This is the time to pull your field inward, to seal your aura, to let silence be your sanctuary. Because when your inner world is this soft, this impressionable, even a gentle breeze can rearrange your alignment. And right now, your alignment matters more than your availability, so don't apologize for not replying. Don't explain your silence. Don't feel guilty for choosing stillness over connection. This moon doesn't need you to be social. It needs you to be sovereign. There is something ancient and unspoken moving through the sky during this new moon. Something like a great cosmic eye, opening just long enough to scan the energy fields of everything it sees. It doesn't ask who you are. It doesn't wait for you to explain. It simply takes a snapshot of where you are, who you're with, what energy surrounds you in that exact moment, and then it files you accordingly. That is the danger. Because if you are entangled with others, absorbing their moods, mirroring their personas, half present in a role that isn't truly yours, you get tagged as someone you're not. The eye doesn't see your essence, it sees your position. And if you're standing in the wrong field, woven into the emotional static of those around you, the energetic imprint logged in that moment doesn't belong to your soul. It belongs to the performance, the projection, the composite. And once the universe has filed that version of you, it becomes much harder to break free. You may wake up days later feeling strangely out of sync, like you're speaking lines from a script you didn't write, or playing a role that never quite fits. People begin to respond to you in ways that don't make sense. Opportunities show up, that don't feel aligned. Even your own decisions feel slightly off, as if they're meant for someone you used to be, or someone you were mistaken for. This isn't superstition. It's energetic bureaucracy. The cosmos doesn't discriminate by intention. It calibrates by presence. And that's why this moment is so critical. If you show up in a space where you are not fully yourself, if you're surrounded by people who dilute, distort, or define you, you risk being placed into a version of life that has nothing to do with your truth. So the message is simple but exact. Don't be seen unless it's really you being seen. Don't stand in someone else's spotlight. Don't lend your energy to the wrong altar. Not now. Not when the cosmic lens is this sharp, this unforgiving. There is power in invisibility. There is freedom in opting out of the group photo. Because when this moment passes, when the scan is complete, you'll want to re-emerge as yourself, whole and untagged, ready to inhabit a path that was meant only for you. On June 25th, something rare and wordless will pass between you and the universe. Not a lesson, not a test, but a transmission, a code. Not metaphorical, not poetic, but functional. This is not the kind of message you can write down or explain to anyone else. It will not arrive with clarity, fanfare, or confirmation. It will arrive in silence, in stillness, in that brief moment when your inner voice has gone quiet and your attention is undistracted, and it will only come once. This is why the noise must stop. This is why solitude is not optional, it is sacred. Because the code is dropped mid-breath, mid-thought, like a whisper slipping into the cracks of your consciousness. You won't catch it if you're multitasking. You won't hear it if you're texting someone or replaying a conversation in your mind. You won't notice it if someone else's energy is still echoing in your field. The delivery is too precise, too subtle. It bypasses the mind entirely and lands somewhere deeper, in the nervous system, in the breath, in the space behind the eyes, where knowing lives before language arrives. You may feel it as a sudden stillness, as if time pauses for a breath, or as a sentence you've heard before that suddenly lands differently, a memory you forgot you were carrying, surfacing with a new edge, a random line in a film, a symbol in a dream, a flicker of intuition that tightens your chest for no reason. These are not distractions. These are coordinates, clues, a cipher being slid across the table by the universe, and you are the only one it's meant for. But here's what makes it sacred. If you speak it too soon, if you try to translate it or package it for others, it dissolves. The code cannot be verified externally. It's not a download you can show anyone. It's not a breakthrough to be shared. It's alignment, yours alone. And if your energy is too scattered, too watched, too entangled with what others need or expect from you, you will miss it. Not because you're not worthy, but because this kind of wisdom only knocks once. So if on this new moon, you feel the urge to space out, to sit in silence longer than usual, to pull back from everything and everyone, trust that. That quiet may not feel productive, but it is the only condition in which this transmission can reach you. It may only last a second, and yet change everything, like a key slipping into an invisible lock you didn't know existed. And when it clicks, you'll know, not because anything loud happens, but because something within you, something old and unnamed, finally exhales. And so we come to the final truth of this new moon. You were not invited to someone else's ceremony. You were summoned to your own. There is no applause waiting for you here, no audience, no stage, only the quiet unfolding of something ancient, personal, and exquisitely timed. This is not a moment that asks for participation in the outer world. It asks for reverence, for presence, for you to be still long enough for the sacred script of your next chapter to be etched quietly into your field, not by action, but by attention. Let your silence be your offering. Let your stillness be your devotion. This is not the time to share what you've realized, or to explain why you've gone quiet, or to translate your awakening into something digestible. The universe is not waiting for your interpretation. It's already writing the truth into the marrow of your being. Your only task is to remain undisturbed long enough for the ink to dry. In the noise of the world, transformation often hides. But in this rare silence, it reveals itself fully. Not as drama, not as revelation, but as a subtle click inside the soul when everything suddenly feels aligned. You are not here to prove. You are not here to be understood. You are here to remember. And what's waiting for you on the other side of this moon is not applause or recognition. It's wholeness. Quiet, sovereign, unmistakably yours. So when the urge arises to explain yourself, to respond, to rush into clarity, pause, breathe, and return to your inner ceremony. The universe already sees you. There's nothing more you need to say. And as we close this sacred transmission beneath the rare and reverent light of the June 25th new moon, I invite you to carry this silence with you, not as emptiness, but as a sanctuary. Trust that even in your stillness, everything is shifting. The path is rearranging itself, not through your effort, but through your alignment. You do not need to rush. You do not need to be visible. You only need to be true. So step back, unplug, let the world misread you if it must. The ceremony wasn't meant for them. It was written for you. Thank you for sharing this quiet moment with me. If your soul stirred at any point, if something unspoken clicked within you, you're right on time. I'm Luna Celestine, and I'll see you again when the stars are ready to speak. Until then, stay hidden, stay sacred, and most of all, stay you.